Hello everyone, I welcome you all to the Edukemy's YouTube channel. I am Nanki Baweja, and in today's video I will talk about what are the expectations that the entire economy is having from the upcoming budget, which is due to be laid on 1st of February 2022. Before starting the video for the day, if you wish to see more such videos by Edukemy and to remain updated with what Edukemy is up to, please hit the bell icon for the notification and like, share and subscribe if you like the video. So starting with the video in which we will cover as to what the entire economy is expecting from the upcoming budget. So as you know, this is fourth budget in the line by the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Before that, three budgets she has already laid in the parliament. This is going to be the fourth one. And also one of the striking features again, it will be in the digital form. Before that, before 2021 budget, the budget was laid in the pen and paper form, and now 2021 onwards, the finance minister broke the legacy of presenting the budget into the physical format and rather shifted into the digital format of presenting the budget. And let's see what interesting she has to offer this year also. So let us see what the different sectors of economy is expecting from the budget that is soon to be laid in the parliament. So let us start with the health sector first. So health sector has been in the headlines from last 2 years because of the multiple waves of novel coronavirus that has struck the entire global fraternity. And when we talk about the health sector in India per se, or talking about the health sector of India, we expect that the budget will expand its outlay for the health sector, which will be in tandem with the lines to achieve the objective of the government, which is 3% of the GDP. So the government has set an objective that they aims to achieve the expenditure on health infra, which will constitute or which will amount to 3% of the GDP of the country. So in lines to that, we expect that the outlay for the health sector will increase. Government in the previous year, also in the last 2 years, especially to talk about, has taken various short-term and long-term measures to boost the manufacturing of medical devices in the country by various schemes, one of which the example is PLI scheme, that helped in boosting the manufacturing of medical devices in the country. So what the health sector is expecting from the upcoming budget is that now how the budget aims to address the workflow that is there in the hospital and to support the patient care. What else could be expected is lowering the GST rates for critical life-saving drugs and devices. Also incentivizing the R&D expenditure, that is the expenditure which is done on research and development, which is necessary to develop a new drug in the country or necessary to undertake discovery of a new drug or the raw materials. So the health sector is actually aiming for reduction in the GST rates so that more of it can be done, more of investment can be done in the research and development, so that the India becomes not only self-sufficient in medicines but also becomes the pharmacy for the world. So this is what health sector is expecting from the upcoming budget. Let's see what all other sectors are aiming or hoping from the budget 2022. Next is the education sector, which is one of the most important sector which has been severely hit with the waves of pandemic in the country. So let's see, or let's hope what the government has to offer to bring back the students who haven't seen the face of school from last 2 or 3 years. And also at the same time, the learning gap in the economy that has emerged due to the digital divide in the country, how the government aims in addressing or minimizing the gaps. At the same time, the edtechs, which have flourished in last 2 or 3 years in various segments, be it for the school students or when it comes to preparing for some top-notch exams in the country. How does the budget 2022 aims to regularize it? So a strict supervision or a policy framework addressing the various needs to regulate edtech could be seen. So this is for the education sector. Next important sector that we will cover today is infrastructure. So if you know that in the last few years, government is aggressively pursuing investment in infrastructure. And last year, when we talk about, especially 2021, has seen a lot of development when investment in infrastructure is talked about. For an example, National Infrastructure Pipeline has been expanded in December only to cover 7,400 new projects. Establishment of National Infra and Investment Fund, which shows that the government is actually seriously inclined towards mobilizing debt and equity capital for the project holders or for the various projects that have been stalled. And then establishment of Infra Investment Fund, which enables the project holders or the big projects to mobilize capital for themselves. So now when this level of development is done in the last year, this year also we expect that the government will take due care of the infrastructure development in the country by investing more into it, because that is what will lead to the growth in the economy. And also a comprehensive policy is expected for on the logistics sides. So when we talk about the logistics part of the country, the cost that logistic cost is exorbitant, which is around 14% of the GDP. Now, if the India has to grow, then definitely it has to undertake the reduction in the cost, or particularly when we talk about the logistics cost. So a holistic national logistics policy is something which is due from the long time and could be expected when we talk about the infrastructure segment of the country. Also, when we talk about that the economy is suffering from the inflation, and especially due to the supply side glitches, then definitely certain steps will be taken by the government to streamline the process of supply and smooth flow of goods and services from one place to another. So that is why a holistic policy on on the logistics sector, as well as the national warehousing policy to cut the cost of production, can be expected or seen in the upcoming budget. Now moving on to the next important section of the society, and not I would say sector, women. Women has actually suffered a lot in the last 2 or 3 years in the way that they have lost their jobs. A lot of women have been shifted from the formal sector of the economy to the casual labor force. Also, they have been subjected to domestic violence, rapes, and all this happened in the course of the two waves that struck the economy, which is often known as, or often termed as these days, silent pandemic. Silent pandemic is where, which means the suffering which the women has faced due to the pandemic in the country, lockdowns which were seen all over the country. So let's see what the budget has to offer to uplift this section of the society. So the upliftment can take place in two ways. Either they create new opportunities of employment for the women section, or the budget can be expected to support the women-centric business. Along with that, when we talk about the gender budgeting in our country, so last year, the 2021 budget, which we talk about, had a provision of 5%. It just had a provision of allocation of 5% of the entire budget allocation for the gender budgeting. So this year what we expect is increase in the amount being allocated for gender budgeting, which will actually help to reduce the inequalities which are there in the society when the women are considered in terms of access to opportunities. So let's see, let's see what the budget has to offer for women, and this is what the women should actually expect from the government which is in the power and which is about to lay the budget in a span of 3 or 4 days. The next important sector of the economy is MSME sector, the creator of largest employment opportunities or generators in both the formal segment and the informal segment, and also one of the sector which is worst hit due to pandemic. So MSME is often termed as backbone of the country and simultaneously generates employment in the nook and corner of the country. So the development has to be there, has to be ensured that the continuous support from the government side has to be there for MSME for the sustained growth in the upcoming years. So what the MSMEs are expecting is that the continuation of support for them by the government, so that the reliance on import or the import dependency of the country could reduce, and also to support the Make in India effort. To support the Make in India effort, the MSMEs have to be boosted in the form of providing subsidies to them or in the form of providing fiscal stimulus packages for them. Because if the MSMEs are flourishing nicely, then it not only develops or leads to inclusive development of the country, but also will lead or support to Atmanirbhar Bharat or Make in India effort. So this is what MSME sector is expecting. Next is the startups and the budget. Now India has witnessed the growth of startups in last 5 years, or I would say last 10 years. And I would be elated to say that India is a country with third highest number of unicorns after USA and China. So the third largest number of unicorns is with the India or are there in India. So definitely we have to make an environment, or budget should provide an environment which is conducive for the startups to grow explicitly. And when we talk about the startups in the last 2 years, lockdown has actually provided facility to lot many women entrepreneurs to start a cloud kitchens. Now let's see what the budget has to offer for them. So one thing which everyone is expecting so that the startups should flourish more is that reduction in the compliance cost. Now, when I talk about the compliance cost, I mean by this is the simple registration procedure with which the startup has to go with or has to go to. There is a cost associated with it. For example, a lot of cloud kitchens have come up in the last 2 years or 3 years. Now, to take the food license for these cloud startup, it takes a hefty amount of say 5,000, 4,000 rupees. So reduction in compliance cost is what the startups are expected, so that more and more startups come in the country, as well as incentivizing the startups in the tier 2 cities so that the growth and development reaches the nook and corner of the country and is just not restricted to metro or cosmopolitan areas or the cities. The startup culture should be such that it should reach the nook and corner of the country, so that the employment opportunity can be generated. Also, with the ease of doing business, what the startups are expecting is revising the taxation slabs for them, or which would mean easing out the rate with which the startups are taxed and how the startups are taxed. So this is what the startup sector or the segment is expecting from the upcoming budget. Next is the electric vehicle segment. So the electric vehicle sector in our country right now is in nascent stage, but is expected to grow at the compound annual growth rate of 90% when we talk about from the period 2021 to 2030. The CAGR that is expected for electric vehicle segment from 2021 to 2030 for India is 90%. So the government should actually take concrete steps so that the process of converting or moving towards the clean energy or using clean energy fuels to address the global climate change should be smoothened up. And how it could be done is the GST which is charged on the raw material used to make EVs should be lowered. Along with that, electric vehicles should be counted under PSL category. PSL stands for priority sector lending. So when the EV, the factory or the manufacturing facility, the projects, when they approach the bank for the loan, they should be considered under priority sector lending norm, and facilities should be made so that they can avail the loan at a discounted rate. Next is not only that, efforts should be taken for the smooth transition from the dirty fuels to clean energy fuels, but also efforts should be taken that the India become the global powerhouse or the supplier of the electric vehicles to the world. And this will be only possible when the export concessions are given to the Indian EV segment. These are the major expectations of the electric vehicle segment from the budget 2022. And the next is the online gaming segment. Online gaming is one such thing which has actually flourished in India in the last 3 years due to the lockdowns all over the country. Youth have been, in fact, not just the youth, people in the late 40s and 50s, in fact, octogenarians in our country has also been seen inclined towards playing online gaming. So a holistic policy covering the data privacy or talking or addressing the concerns relating to data privacy along with the user privacy or safeguarding the user privacy is something what we should expect from the upcoming budget. Also at the same time, the income which arises from playing these online games, a policy how to tax that income, whether they should come under income from other sources or should be taken as windfall gains, how it should be addressed, how it should be taxed, so that the government is also not at the loss at the end of the day. This is something which would be needed to address by having a broad policy framework for the online gaming segment, because this segment is just not about the entertainment but at the same time generating employment opportunities for hundreds of youths and the upcoming Indian years in our country. So this is all about the online gaming segment. Next is the cryptocurrency, for which the Indians, though the segment has remained unregularized or deregularized, but the fondness of Indians for the cryptocurrency has increased multifold in the last 2 or 3 years. So a policy talking about how to tax the income arising from the crypto trading, again, whether it will be classified into capital gains or income from other sources. How the government is seeing to or expect or actually planning to tax the income that arises from purchase and sale of the cryptocurrency, and how the government looks forward to regularize the trading of cryptocurrency in the country so that the trust of the investor is maintained in the market. And the next is the method of computing the fair market value is something which the traders are looking forward. So in order to bring the transparency in the economy. Next is the current account deficit. This is something, last thing which I would like to talk about. Current account deficit is actually, we are expecting that it would increase. And the two reasons behind increase in the current account deficit is increase in the gold imports. Though there has been lockdown witnessed by the economy in last 2.5 years, but the fondness, so Indians were always famous for their fondness of gold and gold jewelry, and this time also the Indians have maintained their fondness for gold and gold jewelry equivalently the way they used to do it before. So this has actually inflated our bills, or the import bills to be precise, and increase in the oil import bills along with increase in the prices of oil, which has actually led to increase in oil import bills. This would actually lead to the expansion of current account deficit. This is something which is quite predictable when we talk about the current account deficit of the government. So to wrap up as to what the economy as a whole, or the entire segment or sectors of the economy, should expect from the budget is the expansionary policy, that is expansion in the amount that they lay or they allocate for the budget. Along with that, the growth should be streamlined with the fiscal levers, along with taking care that fiscal consolidation is taking place so that the inflation should not increase further. At the same time, the expansionary fiscal policy should be supported by the public funding, or would say government funding, to boost the consumption rather than private participants coming in to boost the consumption. At the last, I would like to say that the government should not only focus on increasing the amount for investment in infrastructure, but at the same time should take care that the consumption in the economy is also increased, so that the startups which are budding in the MSME sector gets a market for consumption of their goods and services. So this is all that I would like to share when I talk about the expectations which we have from the upcoming budget. And for the actual budget, we should wait till 1st of Feb and see what the government has stored for the citizens of our country. Until then, have a good time, and do not forget to watch when the finance minister lays the budget. So this is all when I talk about today's video, and do not forget to watch when the actual budget is being laid in the parliament on February 1st, 2022. Until that time, have a good day, have a good time. All the best to all of you.